side. Hi, I'm Muchaneta, founder of Fashioner.com. I'm here at the Keyhouse at Munich Fabrikstadt talking to Simon Angel. He is the curator of sustainable innovations. So Simon, tell us a little bit about sustainable innovations for those who are not familiar.
I think we should walk through the environment, but since we're sitting here, maybe it's good to point out that for every episode of the Sustainable Innovations, I use 3 keywords. The keywords for this episode is people, purpose, poetry, which give the biggest context of the participants that I will show this episode. So there are people who are connecting fashion with a social aspect. This is the people aspect. And there are designers who connect it with a special purpose in the industry or in the context of consumers' behavior. And there are also several kind of designers with projects that have a poetic influence on the industry as well. So, for example, if you want, shall I? Yeah? Okay. So, for example, a very good example of the poetry part would be Lena. And she has this project called Worn to Wear. And the Worn to Wear project is all about... this is copper integrated into fabric. And it might be a bit stiff, right? But actually it behaves like leather. When you put it on, the design actually changes, and because it collaborates with your body and with your body movements. But another aspect on the design and using copper into this fabric is that your body fluids like sweat and transparency can oxidize the copper, which changes the color from goldish to green. And it's a different kind of design aspect that if you wear it, your fabric actually turns green. And I think that's a really poetic way of using and your design principles. Okay. Was this a good example of?
Very good.
Good.
But I did take a little walk around yesterday. I was given the VIP tour, and you showed me 2 things that stood out. One was a material made out of hair, and the second was an atlas of dyes. Could you explain to the audience exactly what's behind the concept of the hair material and the atlas and what makes it so special?
I think maybe it's good to point out that the hair project started as a project connecting to the fish industry. So the fish industry, we have this big nylon fishing nets. And on a large scale, this is one of the biggest polluters of the oceans, right, with the microplastics in it. But if you think about the material and you use nylon and you put next to this the material of hair, then hair has a way more span of dew in a lifetime than nylon actually. And it's way more stronger as well. So why not use hair material? Because you can collect hair. There is hair everywhere. We don't have to produce it on a large scale because it's already there. We simply have to collect it. And when we use it to repair the fish nets, the span of dew of those fish nets can be way more longer than when we do it with nylon as well. So using this principle and this characteristic of this material, you can use it for ropes, you can use it for swings, you can use it for nets. And I think this is a really good way of think about material again and again and again and again and again.
And what about the atlas? I think that was fascinating. I think it's Julia who's behind it. Could you let us know a bit more about that? Because I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah. So the Atlas of Sustainable Colors, I think it bridges the gap in you being a color designer in your studio on a really small scale, and the demand of the industry, right? If you look at the dye industry, they are always concerned about how can we manage the quality of the dyeing process. When we have natural products, we always found is like we cannot manage the quality of the process because it's natural. But now the Atlas of Sustainable Colors collects all of the knowledge from dyeing designers and puts it into this atlas with different kind of material samples, and there's also a bit of a guarantee. So if you I think if you are want to produce it on a large scale, and you see a trend atlas like this, then you can actually get inspired and say, well, I want to have this specific color. How can I get it? And then the atlas will connect you to the actually designer. For example, in Vienna, if you're dyeing with rocks, or with if you want to dye with bacteria in blue, then it makes a connection with someone in Amsterdam.
That is super fascinating because I think for some people, they know that dyeing causes chemicals and toxins, and to actually know how to get to sustainable dye is very difficult for people that don't know. So this atlas can serve as some sort of like, I guess, an information encyclopedia for them that can help them. So when people attend Sustainable Innovations, what can they take away with them? So when they go there, they see all this amazing innovation. What would you like them to leave with? What kind of thoughts?
I think this is a difficult individual experience that you will get, right? Because during this fair there are people of several kind of industries, and what I learned is that we all have these special focuses. What I'm trying to do is to make a lot of connections as possible on different kind of levels. So I think I want to make connection in this bigger context. Not only for the dyeing industry, not only for the fabric industry, but also for the design industry or the architects or something like that. Because, for example, take the project of Eric Esser with a 3D printing technique. He was not starting out as a designer, but as a technician. But now his 3D printed material gets into this design context, which I think is a pretty good example, actually, how fashion could merge in different kind of contexts as well. Last episode we had this concrete mixed with wool, for example, which is perfectly suitable for interior decorators, for example. Does this answer your question as well, right?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I saw Eric's work. He showed me yesterday. I was quite amazed by what he did. He created a shoe out of it, and it's 3D printing is such a great technique, and it's come a long way from what it was, let's say, 5-6 years ago. You've been a member of the Keyhouse for quite a while now. I mean, what are your thoughts about the Keyhouse? I mean, from when you started working with them to where it is now, do you see change? Do you see people adopting what's going on a lot more better, or would you say that people still need to kind of get their head around what's going on in the industry?
I think what the Keyhouse shows perfectly is that it is not finding the golden key and change the world with a finger snap, right? I think it perfectly shows that change is a process. And I've been here for many episodes right now, and I've seen some changes. And I pronounce it like some changes because I think there's a difference, right? There is no big trend, there is a process. And I think what I see going on in here is that people wandering around even more and more because they are not fixated in getting one answer. They are here to get inspired. And I think that's the power of the Keyhouse, right? You are wandering around here and so what is going on? What is this? And even there are some projects that cannot be explained even. And I think that might be the golden key for the future, right? That you are getting seduced, you get inspired, and you find out how it will suit for you.
I completely agree with you. I think you kind of wrapped it up quite nicely. The Keyhouse is a place for you to come and get inspired and experience innovation. So thank you very much, Simon. Much appreciated.